Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. This is the opening to STS Radio. We're going to be talking all about Wwe Fastlane 2015 today. I can honestly say that I'm not feeling 100% today, but today, knowing that we were going to be cranking out the videos, talking all about all the ins and outs and all the matches of Fastlane, I ate chicken noodle soup for breakfast this morning. So basically, my throat's going to be feeling a little bit better. And hopefully we won't run out of gas by the end of it. But I can honestly say that after last year's, or not last year's, but last month's Royal Rumble fiasco, it seems that WWE Fastlane is not putting up the greatest card that I've ever seen. I can see the pun that they were looking for with this being the fast lane to WrestleMania. A lot of the matches that were put on this card were supposedly supposed to be WrestleMania matches. But honestly, in my mind, especially with the free February that WWE is running right now on the WWE Network, this isn't the best show that they've done. If you looked into the past, the huge success that they had for the month of November, giving away Survivor Series, which sort of looked like it was going to be a throwaway show, and then at the end of the day, Survivor Series was a huge pay-per-view, with the Authority being sent away, even though it was only for a matter of weeks. You had Sting's debut. You had all eyes on the WWE that night. If you did not see Survivor Series, it was your own fault. Basically, that show for only $10 was a steal if you were a previous network subscriber, or if you signed up in order to watch the free November and got it for free. That really was a steal. You walked away really getting to really see something. This month, you look at the Fastlane pay-per-view, which is free on the WWE Network. You get your Wade Barrett Intercontinental Championship match going up against Dean Ambrose. At the end of the day, that match isn't really going to matter. Usos versus Cesaro for the tag championships. You can put that pretty much in the same thing. Rusev going up against John Cena for the United States Championship. I don't really have any drive to see that match. Nikki Bella against Paige is just a normal Divas match along the line. The only match that really has anything going on for it right now is the Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. Winner faces Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. They have taken the Royal Rumble winner, which is basically the guaranteed ticket to go on to WrestleMania, balled it up and throwed it out the window. I know that, in the past, we've seen this style of match a few times. You can go back to the Royal Rumble 2000 with Big Show saying that basically his feet didn't hit the floor before The Rock's, and The Rock shouldn't have been the winner. And then we had The Rock versus the Big Show on the road to WrestleMania to see who was going to be going to WrestleMania to be the number one contender, which ended up being a clusterfuck as well. Basically, with the pay-per-view ended up being a fatal four-way with McMahon in every corner. I think that's pretty much the same thing that we're going to be getting here on Fastlane. Is basically that Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan more than likely will end in some kind of a weirdo false finish, and because of this, we are going to be getting a three-way along the way. Normally when I do these intros, I tell you how great the pay-per-view is going to be, but honestly, I can't even really hide it or, sort of secretly try to spice it up along the way. Fastlane to me looks like a very pretty boring show. Nothing really spectacular going to happen on this one. It doesn't look like Brock Lesnar is going to appear, which gives no reason in the world for Seth Rollins to be there with his Money in the Bank briefcase. He's going to show up, hold it over his head, and say, look at this. I'm the guy who could cash in if this guy would ever show up and be a part of the show. So my prediction of Seth Rollins going into WrestleMania 31 as the champion looks like I'm not going to have any time for that to happen, because I don't really see anybody cashing in on Brock Lesnar, especially when Brock Lesnar is going to be tied up into another match on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or any house shows basically along the way. But we'll use this as the opener, and we'll roll on, and we'll count down these matches. We'll talk about the ins and outs, and we'll get on with the next match. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with your WWE Fastlane preview. We're kicking it off with what's going to be the WWE Fastlane Mountain Dew kickoff. They're basically going to be using talking on this segment. It seems that they don't have enough matches to really spill over into the pre-show. I know that there's a few matches that haven't been named yet. Maybe Goldust going up against Stardust since they just blew up on Monday Night Raw. Maybe you see the Ascension going up against the Primetime Players if they don't waste that match on SmackDown this week. But it seems that they're going to be going with Miz TV as the opener. You know, in the past few months, we've seen Miz TV used. We've seen the Peep Show used, bringing back, competitors and trying to tie them into what's going down with the show that night. And honestly, Miz bringing Paul Heyman on to Miz TV gives Paul Heyman an opportunity to hold the microphone and be there. But honestly, Paul Heyman being a part of the pre-show panel was always really good for me. Paul Heyman being able to talk about any match that he deems fit. So many times when we've seen him do these pre-show to the pay-per-view, we've seen him just, blow a match out of the water. The match that nobody really cared about. And he gets under the skin and just basically saying whatever he needs to. If you go back to the Dean Ambrose versus Bray Wyatt match, I can't remember which one it was, but he was a part of the pre-show panel. And he basically broke down everything that Bray Wyatt had said in his promos. And basically said, if you don't care about this match, you have not been watching WWE television. This is the hottest match that is going on. I think that more than likely that was probably the December TLC pay-per-view due to the fact that that was the main event of the night, and I think a lot of people were sort of groaning that that match didn't deserve to be in the main event for the reason that nobody really cared about. That's exactly what I was saying. The one reason why I really liked the fact that Paul Heyman was on the pre-show for the WWE Network was the fact that he got to sit at the desk and watch the entire show where they kept them out there. And if you go back and you check out after the John Cena matches at Hell in a Cell, at TLC, when he was first one where he was given a shot in order to fight Brock Lesnar, but because Brock Lesnar didn't show up at Survivor Series or TLC, the match was pushed back to the Royal Rumble. And with that match being at the Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins came in and said that he wanted to take John Cena's number one contendership. So they had a tables match at TLC. At the end of both of those matches, when John Cena was crowned the winner and he was standing up on the turnbuckles, sort of waving to the crowd, thanking them for coming to the show, and acknowledging that he was the winner and he was going to beat Brock Lesnar, you would just get a camera shot of Paul Heyman just watching, seeing what John Cena was doing, and pondering over the fact that, this was Brock Lesnar's number one contender that was going to be seeing a match sooner than later. This is the guy that is stepping up to the plate to break the streak, and I know that right now the main event of Fastlane is going to be a number one contendership match. It is going to be the main event, but just think of as that show is going off the air, you just see Paul Heyman looking up, looking into the ring, whether if he's looking at Brock Lesnar, I apologize, whether if he's looking at Roman Reigns, whether if he's looking at Daniel Bryan, just pondering over, okay, I've just watched this guy, and this is what I'm going to go tell Brock as the scouting report. This is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to, with Daniel Bryan, he's smaller, he's faster than Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's going to have to be able to trap this guy into a corner. He's going to have to take this guy's knees out. You can't have this guy running around and using his speed, throwing those kicks. Basically, if it's for Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar would have to outpower this guy, have to put him down, make sure that you take out the spear, make sure you take out anything else along the way. Just adding to the storyline of what's going to be going down. I don't see what's going down with Miz and Mizdow at this point, with Mizdow being the personal assistant to the Miz. Definitely he will be ringside for this one, being some part of this whole skit, but seeing how Miz and Mizdow officially haven't had the real big blow up means that more than likely Miz versus Mizdow is going to be a WrestleMania match, which really scares me off. I was hoping that maybe Fastlane would be used for Miz versus Mizdow. Win, lose, or draw between that match, Miz would be moving on to something better along the way. I know that more than likely we'll be seeing another Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal used for the WrestleMania pay-per-view. But Miz is a guy that I liked. I've always stood up for the fact that he won the championship at WrestleMania 27, even though that WrestleMania was mainly built around Rock versus Cena, pushing them to the point of WrestleMania 28. I've always thought that Miz was a big part of the future for the WWE, and even when he was at the WrestleMania 29 pre-show fighting for the Intercontinental Championship, I thought that was a crime, because I thought this guy is the guy of the future for the WWE. There's always going to be more chances, but another, WrestleMania where he's not a part of it kind of sucks for this guy, and we're going to have to see what we can do to get him back into the mix and back into the fold. But the Mountain Dew Fastlane kickoff is going to be Paul Heyman on Miz TV, and that's going to be it. See you in the next one. Alright everybody, the first real match of the WWE Fastlane 2015 full show preview coming at you here. It's going to be the WWE Tag Team Championships being up on the line between the Usos going up against the Masters of the Universe, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. Basically the teaming of Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, at first it seemed like this was going to be a real big thing. The first time they paired up, the internet and Twitter just went ballistic crazy about how great this team actually could be. I think a lot of people out there are actually wanting Cesaro to actually break through and really find some singles fame in the WWE, but as long as he can, keep himself in matches on Monday Night Raw and house shows, he's always going to be in the eye of the people that make the decisions. And someday somebody's going to wake up down there. Tyson Kidd's another guy with a whole lot of talent. I thought that honestly, when he went down to developmental and he went and he helped out NXT, he went down there and he had a series of matches against Adrian Neville, Tyler Breeze, Sami Zayn. He was a big focal point of what they had going on down there, and he still sporadically does matches on the show here and there. I really thought that when he came back up to the main roster, like what Triple H said, he was going to be shot right into that main event picture, and here he is in a tag team match on a show that nobody really cares about. When you look and see what's going down with this, basically we've seen the Usos. The Usos have been able to have matches against Kidd and Cesaro and basically not been able to come up with any sort of success in these matches. We've seen basically where the Usos have lost non-title matches and singles matches. Kidd has beat one of the Usos. Cesaro has beat the other one. But, it all came down on that edition of Monday Night Raw, basically when they tried to pair up WWE Monday Night Raw with Total Divas once again, and it came out into this awkward just mess of a things with Natalya and Naomi. Naomi's not even on Total Divas anymore, but they're still trying to, put her in these Monday Night Raw sort of things, saying that she is, or not really saying that she is, but playing off the fact that she once was in there. Natalya and Naomi were always friends on that show. They never had any problems, so they were trying to pair up their husbands to go on a double date so they'd be able to work up their own problems. The best thing about this is that, Tyson Kidd is going on a double date, and along with his wife, he brings Cesaro to show up, and it ends up being some sort of a pushing and shoving contest, trying to see what's going down here. But honestly, when it comes down to it, I want to see Cesaro and Tyson Kidd pull out the win here. I would love to see them WWE Tag Team Champions, but with the Usos going to WrestleMania 31, of course, with their father, Rikishi, going into the Hall of Fame, I don't think it adds a whole lot of mystique, to the Hall of Fame speech, but I think it would mean a little bit more if the Usos were the current Tag Team Champions at the time. They've been really pushing them as the focal point of the WWE Tag Team division for the last little bit. So, more than likely in this match, I do see the Usos pulling it out, but I think I really want to see Tyson and Cesaro have a good showing, and I'll say that I hopefully think that they'll pull out the win. Alright, with this next match being Dean Ambrose going up against Wade Barrett, this is an example of a match at WWE Fastlane 2015 that I give no cares about. None at all. This is basically built up off of the WWE Snow Day, which was held after the Royal Rumble. They had a thing where basically Dean Ambrose walked his way to the WWE studios, and when he was walking through the offices and the halls, he said he found a hallway with pictures of all the Intercontinental champions decorated up and down the wall. My only thoughts was about this hall. It was that once you win the Intercontinental Championship, is your picture only on the wall one time? Or is Wade Barrett's picture on the wall 5 times? Is it like a title like history where it just like passes the title back and forth? You would just get your title, you get your picture up on the wall right after the other, or is it just just one time shrines you in there and that's it? But basically, Dean Ambrose said that he wanted to get his picture onto the wall, so he sort of put his sights on winning that Intercontinental Championship, going after Wade Barrett. We saw these guys have a non-title match on Monday Night Raw almost a month ago, back in January. And at that point, basically, we saw it looked like Wade Barrett was picking up a win when he picked up Dean Ambrose for the wasteland maneuver. And at that point, right before it was about to go down, Dean Ambrose was able to put Dirty Deeds on and was able to snare in a victory and be able to get a non-title win over Bray Wyatt. It seems to be that's the way that almost anybody gets a title shot on a pay-per-view, is getting a non-title win on a Monday Night Raw. Sort of like, well, I beat you once, I can beat you again. In my mind, whenever one of those guys goes out there, I'm not looking for the Crash Holly 24/7 rule where you can pin a guy sleeping in his hotel room. But anytime you wrestle on Raw or SmackDown, hell, even on a live show, that title should be on the line. You should always be defending your championship unless it's in some sort of a tag match or something like that. And maybe that's how you can pull off a victory. But, so many times I guess I just wasn't paying attention, and I've been fooled by non-title victories on Raw, thinking that somebody just won it and it was a bigger moment than it actually was. Everybody knows about Dean Ambrose's win-loss record on pay-per-views. I don't put a whole lot behind it. Dean Ambrose is the guy that has a lot of fans. As you can see, I was really surprised by them making him a VIP at WrestleMania Access. People wanting to pay, big money to go and meet this guy. I haven't seen his tickets selling at a big premium price to meet him. So it seems like the people that wanted to meet him bought tickets, and his tickets aren't really selling like a Hulk Hogan or a Sting or a John Cena, where people are just ridiculous at the point of trying to get these. But Dean Ambrose more than likely is going to lose this match. I don't see him as the Intercontinental Champion. There's a lot of people who liked his sketch comedy that was going down. I know that they were, giving congratulations to their partner over at WWE. Or WWE was giving him to Saturday Night Live for their 40th anniversary that ran just the other day. I was able to check that out actually on YouTube. Somebody actually uploaded the best sketches that were up there. I had a lot of fun watching those last night, but on Monday Night Raw, the first one was funny, and they just sort of wore thin from there, basically with Dean Ambrose doing the news and basically talking about, he needed to get this match signed for Wade Barrett, but Wade Barrett was ducking signing the contract. But basically, Dean Ambrose came down to the ring, and he just went to the extreme with basically, zip tying Wade Barrett to the ring post and forcing him to sign the contract by grabbing his hand and putting his name on the contract. So now they have a championship match. I like the fact that Wade Barrett put a tweet up on Twitter asking if there was any, legal ways he could find a way to get out of this match. But I think when it all comes down to it, the bare knuckle brawler is going to be punching out Dean Ambrose, and he's going to be getting the victory. When I think about the Intercontinental Championship, I honestly always talk about how I hope somebody brings pride to this championship, and it means what it once meant in the 1990s. I can remember around Survivor Series that Dolph Ziggler was the Intercontinental Champion. Dolph Ziggler lost the title to Luke Harper, who I think he just lost it on a Monday Night Raw, if I can remember right. And then at TLC, Luke Harper and Dolph Ziggler had a ladder match, which is extremely good, probably the match of the night on TLC, where it all went downhill from there. Dolph Ziggler won the championship back. But I can't remember how Wade Barrett got his hands on it. I'm guessing that the Authority came back and just, made Dolph Ziggler's a night of hell. He lost the championship, and since then we really haven't seen Ziggler have his eyes on getting that title back. We haven't really seen Ziggler have his eyes on moving up the card at all. We've seen him and John Cena's Super Friends band together a few times with Ryback, Ziggler, and Eric Rowan sort of come down to make the save, but I don't know what they have planned out for these guys, in the future at WrestleMania, but I can see Wade Barrett keeping the championship from here and moving on. So that'll do it for this one. I actually went a lot longer than I thought I was going to, because this is the match that I just, honestly, like I said, it just seems like they've had this planned out for over a month since the Royal Rumble, that this was where they were going to go. And besides the storyline of Wade Barrett constantly ducking, giving Ambrose the championship shot, they really haven't had a storyline at all. Ambrose should have been going out there and making sure he made Wade Barrett's life a living hell week in and week out, to the point where Wade Barrett just said, forget this. I'm going to beat this guy up at Fastlane, and then I'm going to just make it where he's not in my life anymore. When I look at the Divas match, which is going to be featured on WWE Fastlane 2015 with Nikki Bella going up against Paige, I really don't have the highest hopes for what this match is going to be, but I know when I'm thinking about what WrestleMania 31 is going to be, this one plays in a really big deal to what I think is going on. Nikki Bella, honestly, and Brie Bella are honestly two of the most improved wrestlers in all of WWE. The way that they've stepped up their game since coming back into the WWE around WrestleMania 29 time, and they took their little break. They did the Indies for a bit. They came back because WWE pitched the fact of doing the Total Divas, having their own sort of reality show. And they came back into the fold. Everybody knows that they've been going with John Cena and Daniel Bryan for a long time, and it's hard not to hang around with that kind of talent and not sort of pick it up. John Cena and Daniel Bryan, two guys that pay attention to their craft a lot. They're always working out in the gym. Daniel Bryan's always rolling around, doing some kind of a practice, some trying to make him better or something like that. You could see how Brie and Nikki would sort of adapt to that and pick that up, and you can see that Nikki has really been pushing herself. Honestly, in my mind, she had the most to make up. Brie wasn't great, but she was at least watchable, and Nikki is to the point now where she's one of the most entertaining divas that they have on the roster. Her going up against Paige in a one-on-one match on WrestleMania 31, if they were to be able to pull this off as a rematch, or either one of these girls, whoever would win the Divas Championship, going up against AJ Lee, if she comes back into the picture, would be a great WrestleMania match as well. Or I don't know, I don't really want to see that Divas battle. It wasn't a battle royal, because the Andre the Giant thing was a battle royal. It was like a throw all the girls in the ring, and whoever got the first pin got the win. If I remember right, it didn't really make any sense, because Tamina and AJ were sort of pals at that time, and it seemed like Tamina would do anything. She really didn't have her eyes on being the champion. She was sort of just good with having AJ's back and being a part of that team. And why AJ just didn't find a corner to slap some sort of a submission hold or put a pin on Tamina and get the win that way just didn't make any sense. I'm not excited about the Divas having a one-on-one match, but if they did, this is the triangle of girls that I would want to see. Hell, maybe they can find a way where Paige and AJ get back on the same page, and maybe they just do a tag match so Brie and Nikki can both have a match. But that is the triangle or the square of people that are going to be involved. The Nikki versus Paige storyline. I don't know. People seemed to really enjoy last night when the Bellas stole Paige's ring gear. I don't know if she was getting out of the shower and that's why she didn't have any clothes but a towel. But she seemed to outsmart them by going to the Rosebuds and taking the sort of dress from one of the girls, coming down there and being able to still get into the ring. It was impressive for Paige. I think that she's one of the girls that honestly will do just about anything she's asked, as long as she can wrestle on the shows and show off how good she really is. In this match, I think I'm going to pick Nikki to continue on. She's had a real good run with the championship, and I think going into WrestleMania is sort of like a feather in her cap as to how good her comeback with Brie has been and how much they really have improved into what's going on. I don't know, like I said, just trying to figure out what they are going to do on the fast lane to WrestleMania. Woo! Getting it down and just seeing, are these girls going to be doing it as a rematch? Will AJ be worked into the fold? Or are they going to do some sort of a match with AJ at one-on-one? Will they do a fatal four-way? Will they do a tag match? Those are all things to come later on with WrestleMania 31 in the future. All right, here we are getting into that main event time already with John Cena going up against Rusev, the United States Championship is going to be on the line. We've seen Rusev come in to the WWE. He's been going at it for just over a year now, of course, with last year's Royal Rumble debut. Of course, he didn't really have his gimmick 100% yet. Lana didn't come down with him. He made a big, strong effort in the Rumble. He definitely was a big guy that came down in there. I don't even think he got that many eliminations, but just for the fact that he was able to hang out in the Rumble and show his force was a big, strong thing. And he was held off to the sidelines for a while. We kept on thinking that, maybe he's not there because they don't want him to be a part of, the Royal Rumble. Maybe he would come down in the Royal Rumble and be a surprise entrant into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, giving him some sort of a big debut. He wasn't able to win the Rumble because he wasn't going to main event WrestleMania, but maybe he could be the guy to hold the statue for the first time. But then once he came in, it was closer to spring and summertime, I can remember. He came in immediately going after, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, R-Truth. Those matches to me, honestly, really didn't mean anything. But when, he went after Big E Langston is when he first got really put on my radar. The 3 matches that I know of between Rusev and Big E Langston were great. 2 of them on pay-per-view, 1 of them on main event. If they did Rusev versus Big E Langston at WrestleMania, I would be standing up in my seat. Those are 2 guys that I want to see. They're 2 big, strong guys that don't mind how hard they hit each other, and it's just going to be fun. Of course, then from there, he went into SummerSlam going up against Jack Swagger, and from there, he got promoted up into the Authority, where he went into the Team Cena versus Team Authority, his first real big main event spotlight, where he was undefeated streak was sort of used, sort of saying he is one of the biggest, baddest dudes that's in the locker room at this time. Why would he not join the Authority and get some strength behind him? A lot of people question the fact of Lana and Stephanie mixing it up in the back, and why they would do that and sort of take some of the steam away from Lana. But honestly, I really like Rusev. I mean, his matches, is the things that he does in his moveset, honestly, isn't like what anybody else does out there. And him going up against John Cena at Fastlane, even though this match, honestly, in my mind, definitely was the one I was thinking was going to happen at WrestleMania, and they're doing it based off of the fact that, they were trying to do a John Cena post-match interview on the WWE Network with the fallout of the Royal Rumble, and Rusev, who had just been eliminated as the last guy left by The Rock and Roman Reigns, butted in on John Cena's mic time, and, because of this, John Cena decided he was pushing and shoving time. So many other times we've seen in John Cena's career, somebody comes in and interrupts his mic time. They might be showing him a little bit of disrespect, but Cena's able to laugh it off, seeing how he knows that Rusev is a young guy trying to make his way in the WWE, and he could say that he's been there and he's done that before. If you go back and you think of the storyline between Triple H and Sheamus at WrestleMania 26, Triple H brought up the fact that when he was a newcomer coming into the WWE, he went up against one of the biggest guys in the locker room, the Ultimate Warrior, at WrestleMania, and it didn't turn out that well, but he wanted to make sure that he put his name, in the biggest marquee that he could, going up against the Warrior, a past champion. Was definitely going to be a match that had a whole bunch of eyes on it. Now, the fact that WWE has signed to this match for Fastlane, and when they have done this, they've said, well, this wasn't supposed to be happening at Fastlane. You're basically getting this a month early. This is what was supposed to happen at WrestleMania. Those are the things that just don't really make any sense to me. They added a whole bunch of fuel to the fire with Rusev attacking John Cena and going after his eye, basically looking like he was trying to rip it out on Monday Night Raw last week. And then Cena shows up this Monday with 100% eye. Back in the old days, somebody would have sat down in a chair and would have got punched repeatedly. I was talking about in my Raw review last night how in the Rick Steiner shoot interview, there was a WCW match where, one of the teams got a leg up on Scott Steiner. And basically the storyline was that, they beat him up and blackened his eye. And, before they went out for the pay-per-view, to be able to get that sympathy from the fans, Scott sat in a chair and had Rick pound on that eye. Friendly fire in the locker room, knowing that, when they go out there and that eye is swelled shut and, the Steiners are able to go out there and still find a way to pull out a victory, it's going to make them look better in the long run. I know that John Cena has a lot of things out there where he's doing Make-A-Wishes, he's doing movie shots, he's doing TV show drop-ins, he's going to be on Parks and Rec tonight with Amy Poehler. That's what that chick's name is, right? But, he can't be having that sort of an image, but it would make it look a whole lot better. I know that with the scratched cornea, when you're out there wrestling house shows and you're wrestling on Monday Night Raw or your sporadic SmackDown appearance for John Cena, things happen. And, we've seen this injury happen before in wrestling, and we're going to see it again down the road. But, I don't know, Cena's showing up on Monday, beating up on Rusev, yelling out the fact that, anyone can be beat. That just made me think, well, you're the guy who's going to get beat. I mean, everybody has been talking about the United States Championship is being put on the line. Do you really see John Cena carrying around the United States Championship 10 years later? He won this belt at WrestleMania 20 against the Big Show. I believe it was the opening match of the night. That from there, he would carry that belt for almost a year, minus the time that he dropped it to Carlito after being stabbed by Jesus in a nightclub. And he would lose it again to Orlando Jordan to build up heat right before WrestleMania 21, when he would win the that'd be the WWE Championship at that time from JBL, and go on to become one of the biggest superstars of all time. WrestleMania 21 is a real big one with, Batista wrestling in the main event, going up against Triple H. This was one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time. It was a really, when they really started to turn around business for WWE back in the time. But they also had, John Cena beating JBL. Of course, Batista and John Cena were the last two guys left in the Royal Rumble. You could see that they were really going in a new direction. And you can't really call it a youth movement, because even at that point, Batista, came into wrestling a little bit older than a lot of guys do. Wasn't really over the hump. He had a great run with WWE, but I'm sure they would have loved to find this guy a lot younger. Maybe when WCW was still in business and he was showing up at the power plant, and basically he got run out of town, basically saying that he couldn't do it. Maybe if they could have got their hands on him then and got him through developmental faster and been able to get him on the roster. I think it was just the right place and the right time. I was out of wrestling at the time of Evolution. I came in right at the very end of it, after they'd already kicked Orton out, and Batista was trying to get his shine at the time, always being the guy in the background. But, the Evolution, from watching a lot of DVDs and catching up on things that I missed, was a great damn team. And, being able to pick those guys and move them forward. But I'm just realizing that I'm spending a whole lot of time talking about Batista when the match is about freaking Cena versus Rusev. Rusev is a guy that, honestly, I think that once his undefeated streak is off the table, he's going to lose a lot of steam. But we're going to have to see how it gets done. I could see John Cena being the guy who beats Rusev at WrestleMania, but definitely not at Fastlane. I know I got a lot of things to say about this pay-per-view not being that great. I was a big fan of Survivor Series. The people before Survivor Series basically was saying that was going to be a waste of a pay-per-view. WWE wasn't going to give the world away for free, and next thing you know, Sting showing up, making his debut, making sure that Team Cena beats The Authority. The Authority was banned, and it ended up being a pretty big night in the history of WWE at that point, even though The Authority came back weeks later. Now with the network again being free, and as many eyes as possible are going to be on the WWE network, with basically this network being almost a worldwide release now. Still waiting on Germany, still waiting on a little bit of the Middle East. But basically, anybody who's everybody who's going to be getting the free month of February is going to be continue on with the next month of getting, the free March, so they can get WrestleMania for only $10. And, seeing what goes on from there. But Rusev versus Cena, two big boys getting at it. Let's see if Rusev really can play in this backyard. All right, this one for me, honestly, isn't even a match. This is a confrontation inside of the ring, but this is the main event to me. For years and years, we've been waiting to see when Sting was going to finally be brought into the WWE family. There was the big-time rumors revolving around WrestleMania 27, WrestleMania 28, WrestleMania 30, when his contract finally came up from TNA. Every year, Sting would sign this one-year deal with TNA to stick around, and it always come up around the Royal Rumble. And everyone every year was hoping that this is the year Sting would finally come to WWE and have this match against Undertaker. Last year, the rumors were swirling around Sting making an appearance on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. He was already in town. He signed autographs and took pictures at WrestleCon, a very cool event last year in New Orleans. But Monday Night Raw came and left, and he was nowhere to be seen. And then the rumors kept on coming up that, Sting would appear at Extreme Rules. Sting would be a part of this. Sting would be a part of that. And nothing ever came to be before Sting finally showed up at WWE Comic-Con. And at that point, it was even said that Sting still didn't have a WWE contract, but he had made a deal with the video game company that he would be the main guy pushing the game this year. He would be involved in the commercial. It would be a big deal that this would be the first WWE video game to ever feature the likeness of Sting. People have always been really good at going into the creative wrestler and, sort of creating a Sting from the, past history. But this is one, he actually went to the people and he got scanned and he's into the game for real. No more of the face paint is a little bit off. This is the real deal. Sting has finally come into it. And from there, we saw Sting, the video game commercial came and went. People kept on thinking that he would show his face. He would be a part of WWE television, whether if he was just a talking piece. People were trying to find anything for him, whether if he was going to be the GM of Monday Night Raw, which was something that a lot of people thought once that job came up, that he would be the guy, filling that role coming in. And even at that point, people thought that he would be the guy to step up to the plate and take on the Authority. Now, here, comes Survivor Series, the chance finally for the Authority to be removed. They were going up against Team Cena. It came down to the end. Seth Rollins going up against Dolph Ziggler. And all the cheating and everything, came to an end. Basically with Triple H getting in the ring, trying to make sure that, him and Stephanie McMahon, their jobs were saved. And out of the darkness came Sting with a big, huge debut. Basically, the people went ballistic. People went crazy. You could just see an eruption of the fans. I think that was, I can't remember where Survivor Series was. I know that my good buddy Victor was at that show. And you can see him, this big time reaction. When Sting comes out, he was one of the fans that they got captured by the camera. And even sitting at home, I was like, damn, that is cool. The only problem that I had was that night I worked, so I came home and watched Survivor Series on the replay on the WWE Network in the on-demand section. And when you loaded up the WWE Network on Apple TV, there was a thing, don't miss Sting's debut at Survivor Series. God's honest truth that I knew Sting was going to be there. It was just, too obvious the fact that WWE was pushing that this was going to be his debut. But you don't need to see a picture of his debut on the service that you're going to watch. But, since then, Triple H has been looking for answers why Sting has, been there to, sort of interrupt their plans. He showed up again on Monday Night Raw in a match where it was Cena going up against Big Show, Corporate Kane, and Rollins in a 3-on-1 handicap match, letting Cena get the victory by rolling up Seth Rollins. And from there, you got to see John Cena saved the jobs of Eric Rowan, Dolph Ziggler, and Ryback just in time for them to come and make their return to WWE for the Royal Rumble. Of course, Eric Rowan wouldn't be able to compete in the Royal Rumble because he loses his match to Luke Harper, but he still comes out and jumps Curtis Axel, and then we get it from there. But in this, head-to-head meeting, we're finally going to figure out why Sting has come to WWE for so many years. You can tell by watching Monday Night Raw that this is a little bit more than just Triple H versus Sting. They're almost playing this off as the last WCW invasion, with Triple H coming out and saying that he's not going to let WCW beat him. He's making this more about, where Sting came from than, what Sting is doing. I know that you want to get that big payday by having Sting come to WWE. He's always that one guy that's never been a part of their picture. You could think of the stories of basically, what if, Vince McMahon had picked Sting over the Ultimate Warrior, and Sting would have came in, and it would have been Sting versus Warrior. Would Sting even have rose to those heights to have the big main event at WrestleMania 6? Would Sting have sort of, been a guy who flaunted around in the mid-card, making Hulk Hogan's long run in WWE last even longer? Would they have noticed who it was if Sting didn't have the guidance of, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat to push them? Would he have even, figured out how to get him to that point? A lot of people say that even when Sting rose to his first stardom in WCW and the NWA, when he beat Flair at the Clash of the Champions, that he was still, pretty green at that point and wasn't ready to take on the main event. I think Sting was great. He's not one of my favorite wrestlers. I like to go back and watch his matches, and I think that honestly, I really did. Sting wasn't even one of my favorite guys in the dying days of WCW, but I think that what really hurt him the most was him sticking around in TNA as long as he did, knowing that he was the guy that got them over one of the big mountains to get them onto cable television, and they were loyal to him and stuck with him as being their franchise, and they're a big piece of the puzzle there. But there was a lot of times in in TNA that he just didn't need to be there. I mean, it was hurting him to be there. He wasn't helping anymore. He wasn't delivering big matches. I know that the main event of the Bound for Glory in Philadelphia was Sting versus Hogan in a match that nobody really needed to see and nobody was really that ecstatic for. But it's going to be hard to see how they connect the dots. But this is one that I really want to see. I think that Sting versus Triple H is the match that really could deliver at WrestleMania 31. I'm pretty sure that's the way that they're going, but, there always could be the fact of, what if Randy Orton doesn't return for the millionth time? What if it's Seth Rollins versus Sting is something that could be in my mind. It is Sting that has handed Seth Rollins 2 losses in those Team Cena match and the match against Cena. It's Rollins, the guy who's gotten embarrassed by Sting, even though Triple H is the guy who's reacted the most to everything that was going on. But we're going to have to see. This is going to be the face-to-face confrontation to see what happens. Ric Flair has showed up, and Ric Flair has warned Triple H not to take Sting lightly. Easily when you think of Ric Flair, you think of Sting. When you think of Sting, you think of Ric Flair. These are two guys that go hand in hand. Without one, there is not the other. Well, Flair's got Dusty, so never mind that. But yeah, at least when you think of Sting, you always think of Flair. And Flair, being the best friend of Triple H, basically was warning him, that this guy, you don't wrestle all the time anymore. You're not a full-time guy. You're more of a businessman. You get into the ring with this guy, he's going to take you lightly. It seems like they're already setting up the fact of this is going to be a match. And they're not treating this like this is a contract signing, but you could definitely see that some sort of challenge is going to be issued, and it's just going to see how they're able to put the puzzle together. That's going to be the biggest part. So I'll see this at Fastlane, and I'll be pumped. All right, main event time here coming to you guys. This is going to be the big one. Roman Reigns, your 2015 Royal Rumble winner, going up against Daniel Bryan. The winner goes on to WrestleMania 31 to fight in the main event against Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This is all coming off of the big I guess you can say, controversy that was the Royal Rumble this year. Basically, The Rock got into the ring before the match was over to come down and try and help Roman Reigns fight off Corporate Kane and the Big Show after they had jumped back into the ring after their elimination, only to find out that during their celebration, Rusev was hiding underneath the ring, and he had chosen a time to get back into the ring and try and surprise Roman Reigns with an attack. The Rock was also there. Of course, everybody knows the history between Rusev and The Rock, dating back to that surprise Monday Night Raw appearance, and some people still are really having their fingers crossed that we might see a Rusev versus The Rock match, with basically a storyline just starting up in a series of matches versus Rusev against John Cena. I think that The Rock is crossed off the list. Some people say he might be there as a part of the WrestleMania festivities, maybe being a guest host once again. I think you do that once, no need to ever do it again. But a little part of me is like, I know why The Rock was there on paper, to try and save Roman Reigns from getting the loud chorus of boos. I think they knew this was going to happen, so they put in a phone call to The Rock, trying to play off of this whole family ties between The Rock and Roman Reigns. If you love The Rock so much, you won't hate his cousin, Roman Reigns. That's basically what it was all about. But if The Rock is going to show up to Philadelphia just to see Roman Reigns win the Royal Rumble when he has a 1 in 30 chance of winning it, it wasn't a guarantee. Why would The Rock not be at WrestleMania when he has a 1 in 1 chance? Or a 1 in 2, I guess it would be. There were two guys in the match. Or even worse, if it's a three-way, which I think a lot of people are thinking what's going to be happening at the upcoming WrestleMania 31. Why would The Rock not show up to see Roman Reigns have a 1 in 3 shot of becoming the WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Because, The Rock is all about family. I think The Rock is all about that bottom line and that big bottom dollar. That Vince is going to write that check if he wants Rock showing up at there. But there's lots of stories at the Royal Rumble about The Rock being upset about the way things went down. Maybe he didn't know the way the crowd was going to react, and maybe he felt played. The WWE was trying to use him to save Roman. He's a big star inside and outside of wrestling, and he doesn't really need publicity of The Rock doing a surprise appearance, and then that same night, canceled WWE Network is trending. Loud chorus of boos playing in all of the news stories, playing about The Rock making his surprise Royal Rumble appearance, whether if it was on Hollywood Minute or Extra or any of those other daytime talk shows that people care too much about what's going on in the world of celebrities. But basically, Triple H came out on Monday Night Raw. He made a surprise match, which was going to be Daniel Bryan going up against Seth Rollins. If Daniel Bryan was able to get the win, he was going to be able to go on and fight Roman Reigns to find out who the true number one contender was going to be. Roman is coming off one of the biggest years he's ever had, of course, being voted the 2014 Superstar of the Year on the WWE Slammy Awards. He's gone up. He's had 2 shots to become a WWE champion. He fell up short at the Money in the Bank, and basically he was on the outside looking up, and they really put the camera in on him in shock of him not being able to capture the championship in that first shot of going after it. Of course, from there on out, he went to the Fatal 4-Way at the Battleground pay-per-view, which he wasn't able to win either. So he has this taste of going after that championship and not being close to there. Daniel Bryan, the guy who won the World Heavyweight Championship last year at WrestleMania, defeating Triple H in the opening match, putting him on to defeat Batista and Randy Orton in a really, really big match, probably the biggest match of his career. These guys are going to go at it to try and find out who the number one contender is going to be. In my mind, honestly, you can see that Roman Reigns is the big deal in Vince McMahon's eyes. He thinks that Roman Reigns is another Rock, a guy that the fans will really get behind. He's going to have this sort of cool character of, being a big part of the Shield, which also has this sort of dark side, where it's a lot like, you don't want to cross this guy. He'll be friendly with you, he'll shake your hand, but if he gives you that sly, dirty look, he's going to whoop your ass. Daniel Bryan, on the other hand, is one of the best wrestlers there is in the world today. And he's been looked at as an underdog his whole career, and he's been able to overcome all the odds. Everyone's always thought of him as a smaller guy. You know, Stephanie McMahon always refers to him as a B-plus player, and you know, not being able to rise up. You know, Daniel Bryan shocked the world by winning the championship at WrestleMania, but as Stephanie said it, you know, real champions and A-plus players find a way to do it day in and day out, and not just on one chance. Anybody can be that one guy who has 15 minutes of fame, but you know, a real champion is going to be able to find a way to step up to the plate and win this match again. I really want Daniel Bryan to main event WrestleMania. I really want to see how big it can get, but you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, I know that the fans like Daniel Bryan and they're booing Roman Reigns, and it seems to be that there's like this big deal. I don't know. I think that, you know, Roman Reigns, you know, when I went to the WWE house show in Sacramento, I actually got to go to one in my own hometown. I didn't have to drive 90 minutes down to the road to either Oakland or Stockton this time, because I was able to get the right day off. But, you know, Roman Reigns has got fans out there. For some reason, when it's a television crowd, it's a different crowd that's on these other things. And I don't know if people do it much like they did back in the day with John Cena, where they would boo Cena because it's the cool thing to do. But I don't know. I thought we were all gung-ho on Roman Reigns, you know, going on and trying his best to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I thought that would be a big match. I know that Daniel Bryan coming back threw a big, you know, rock through that window because of the fact that, you know, what do you do with Daniel Bryan now? I know that there was a match on the table for Daniel Bryan to fight Sheamus at WrestleMania, and a match that nobody really wants to see. This is a match that was supposed to happen for the United States Championship at WrestleMania 27, which was bumped due to time, with them then fighting in the pre-show Battle Royal, and then you go to WrestleMania 28, where for time once again, Daniel Bryan gets kicked in the face and loses in under 10 seconds. What a way to, you know, put over Sheamus. But, you know, Daniel Bryan, the guy who wins your Money in the Bank, the guy that shocks the world by pinning Big Show and is able to fight off Big Show and Mark Henry as you build this guy up. Then also go into the Elimination Chamber, something that nobody thought he had a chance to win, and do that. But then it sort of started this huge heel character of Daniel Bryan turning on AJ and turning on everybody else, sort of teaming up with John Laurinaitis, going up against CM Punk. And I honestly, for one, thought when Bryan lost it, I was like, well, he's just going to be a guy now. You know, he's going to be a guy that held the championship one time. It's going to make him look like he's sort of a big deal. They'll be able to put him into these past championship matches, whether if they do, like, you know, a fatal four-way or some sort of a big main event on Monday Night Raw, or, you know, like they did the past champions Money in the Bank, something like that. But that's just about it. But he was able to overcome the odds, always still connecting with the fans, whether if he was in the tag team with Kane or going up against the Shield, or, you know, going off on his own. You know, I think everybody really got behind the yes, 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 no, no, no. And, you know, they got behind him in the long run. They really liked watching him wrestle, and they really liked the storyline that was going down. I don't think that Daniel Bryan is Hulk Hogan. I don't think that he's guaranteed the WrestleMania main event. This match, to me, honestly, when I sit down to watch it, I'm sure it's going to be good. I'm sure I'm going to be into it. But at this point, it always just sort of seems like this is like that rip-off, I'm going to take your money match. I know that the network is $10, you know, to subscribe. But it just, to me, reminds me of, you know, past Royal Rumbles where they've done screwy finishes, or they just try and buy. They got you on the hook to buy the January pay-per-view. Now we're going to get you on the hook to buy that February pay-per-view, because what happened in that main event, we're not really going to go through with what the stipulation was. We're going to say what happens on the February pay-per-view then goes on to WrestleMania, whether if it was Rock versus Big Show back in 2000, or whether if it was the first Stone Cold Steve Austin Royal Rumble win where Austin cheated, which then set up the fatal four-way in your house. Things like that just sort of, you know, get under my skin, that I'm not really winning. I think that Roman's gonna win this match. I really want to cheer on Daniel Bryan, but we're gonna have to see. This is gonna be a pay-per-view. At this point, it's just gonna be a show. I'm anxious to see what the show is gonna be like. So make sure you check back into the Stevie Breach channel to see my review the night after, and we can see where we go from there. But thanks for hanging around.